Alright folks, welcome to this exciting adventure when today you join us underneath this magnificent old railway bridge here. And today we've come to the abandoned railway, which is between like the Kerry railway junction. This is the old Glam station here, and it leads on towards the Perthshire direction. Would have probably gone on to like Newtile and Blair and all those sort of places down that way. But today we're going to head on down here, down the direction of the old Kirriemuir railway junction, but also further down this way would have been the Forfar line and other little Angus towns like that. Yeah, just check out this construction. When you're on the Kirriemuir to Glams road, you're actually driving over the top of this bridge and you didn't even really realise there's quite crazy acoustics. Oi! It's got the echo. Anyway folks, let's push on, see if there's any railway history. I was down this path one time years ago with AKR, channel historian, shout out. But yeah, we're going to go back and see what history remains. And another cool thing which is down here, there's an old like standing stone and stuff, so yeah, we'll just see what adventure we get into folks. It's a spontaneous adventure. We're going to follow the route of the old line here and I'll just keep you updated. An interesting point here folks, I just thought I'd point out on the video, look at the size of the land here. They've actually dug into the land, excavated it out when they've been building this railway, and it's insane to think like how much engineering went into the land when they laid the track bed. And I think quite often the original telegraph lines used to follow the side of the railways because that was always the most direct route to each town. Yeah. And I think on this walk there is some telegraph history as well, like remains of some of the poles and stuff. This would have been a double line coming down here.
See, this sort of marks the boundary for the Glams Castle estate, eh?
Yeah. The famous Glams Castle's down that direction, folks. Birthplace of the Queen Mother, the late Queen Mother. And yeah, it's a famous Scottish estate. Strathmore estate. It's the Strathmore Valley, folks. But yeah, this area's got the big like royal connections as well. And it's quite a cool area. There's a lot of paths and stuff around, it seems to be. But today we're wanting to find the cool little historical nuggets hidden within this magical landscape. Look at this folks. This is an original telegraph pole for the side of the line. And it's so cool to find this on the hill here, look at it. You can see how many wires was actually coming along it back then. It's insane. Because I think back then they needed more wires to get the signal down the line. Whereas nowadays I think they can do it all with the smaller cables. Yeah, look at that folks, the shape of the cast iron on the top of that. It's like something's been screwed on there too. What a scene. Old telegraph pole, folks. So there we go, folks. Another bit of history documented there. And we'll push on up the rail. Up the abandoned railway to see what we can find. It is cool to find little stuff like that. It's maybe gotten protected from the trees, so it's like managed to survive. When I think a lot of the other history is like gone and rotted away. Look at this folks, we're now along at the next historical wonder on this walk. Bridge 190 is the number spray painted on the side. Yeah, just look at the stone construction of this. It's cool to see. This looks like it's been more of an access bridge for like the Farm Road or maybe even the fields. But it's cool to see little bits and bobs like this just as you walk along. See an interesting thing, look, the squares cut out of it up there. Little holes cut into it. The water's dripping through the stone right there. Oh aye, one of the original posts. Yeah, you often see those metal fence posts at the old railway sidings. Yeah, what an insane structure, folks.
So you've got trees growing in it, right?
You can actually see gaps between the top stones up there. Yeah, what a scene. What a scene, folks. Let's keep pushing on. Look at this, folks. This is one of the original telegraph poles still standing where it originally was, and you can see there's a cuppy screw on the top. Because on that other one that I saw in the wood down there, I was thinking it looked like something had been screwed on the top, and that's what it is. I'm sure you call those little white bits cuppies, or that was the old Scottish terminology we used to use for it when I was younger. But yeah, look at the pole standing with the cables still draped from it. It's a real scene of railway history, that. And even telegraph history. British communications history right here, folks. And it's insane. What a scene. And it's just like alongside the old track. You can see at this point in the track, they've built it up from the level of the land here, down at the forest floor there. And it's up, what would this be, 10 foot high at least they've built, maybe 12. And also at this side, folks, you can see the snow on the hills. That's causing the cold, wintry breeze, even though it's actually spring now. Yeah, folks, anyway, let's keep following this exciting railway line, see what else we can uncover. Look at this, folks, a crazy little bit of railway history just beside the railway here on this grassy embankment. Look, it's like sleepers and old posts. And look, that's what the railway sleepers would have looked like. That's where the rail was bolted onto them. Yeah, it's been a bit of a fence or something maybe, or yeah, it could have been anything. But for sure that is an old railway sleeper, and I would say that's been there from the time of the railway. Look at this, folks. This is like what we saw a few videos ago when we went south of Bodden along by the railway, which is still a current railway. We saw the wee hut which was covered in ivy, and this is a similar thing to what that would have been. It used to be for the railway workers when they were working kind of on the railways. They would have a wee hut with a fire, and they could come in and like kind of warm up, stuff like that. Look at that, folks, insane. And see this building here, it's actually made with the old railway sleepers.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
You see where they've been bolted on. It's insane, folks. It's a cool little shed, it's got character. But I think it's just on the edge of this person's garden, and I think they've been using it as a wee shed. But yeah, most railways had little sheds like this. And like that shed that we saw at Bodden is a good example of one similar. But the character of that is just so cool with a little chimney. Yeah, insane, folks. Anyway, I think this is somebody's private property. There's actually houses now built on the railway. So we're going to head down the road there and go further along and then back up onto the railway at the other side of the property. Look at this, folks, we've come further along the railway line, well, the road next to the railway line, and there's this old abandoned bridge here, which is cool. It's been basically a bit of a farm yard, I think, but a cool thing, look. All this abandoned farm. It looks abandoned to me, folks, it looks crazy. Yeah, I think that's been used as like the farm midden for the longest time. Just check the condition of all this. Wow, the roof's just totally fallen in. Look at that, a Pac-Man that's called. There's proper machines there. With wheels, look. Crazy, folks.
That's a scooper thing, maybe you've seen one of them.
Oh aye. Oh, it's a tatty planter.
Aye.
They sit on the wee seat at the back. We saw one of these in the shed when we went to the St Orlands Stone. Yeah, wow. So we've just seen a bit of old tatty planting equipment, folks. That's a bit of farming history. It's so cool to see. I think this farm's probably still just owned by like the local farmer down the road. But it looks to me like obviously he's not using any of those sheds anymore. This farm was probably thriving kind of all the way, maybe up till the 80s and stuff like that by the looks of things, but Wow, it's so far gone. I think we should just take a walk in here and take a look at this. 'Cause check it out. This is how all farms would look if humans disappeared. Look at that old farm stone carving there. There's been a coat of arms here, folks. This is insane.
Been two big doors here, eh?
Yeah. Look at that, folks. The history documented. This farm here. Yeah, and look, you can see where there's been a pillar with the two doors. See, that's when they used to make everything out of stone. See, this was probably big enough to keep a tractor in at one time. Whereas nowadays it's just kind of tiny shed. Yeah, the roof, check it out, folks. Every roof here's on its last legs. Super dangerous. Look at the old lintels. Wow, the character of an abandoned area like this is so interesting. Look at that door, it's all carved. Yeah, to the landowner and the shed owners, we come with the greatest respects. We're just documenting the abandoned farm history and then we're on our way. Oh, hey, look, that must have been for feeding cows. I'm being super careful because look, there's live wires right there, potentially. But look, there's the bit where you would have gone in, maybe and fed them, and they would be at the other side of that railing. Yeah, interesting, folks. It's been a thriving farm probably at one time. Some of these bits look like kind of different construction to the other stone. Wow. Real history once again here on the channel, folks. You can just imagine this though, like early 1900s, thriving farm. And then one day, it was just abandoned, forgotten. Yeah, there's some graffiti there. Yeah, I love the old roofs, the way they're made with the timber beams and then the heavy, what is it that's on them? It's stone slabs originally, I think.
Oh, it must have been a door.
Oh, aye, there's been a door here as well.
In the wall, eh?
Yeah. I love the way this window looks as well. Look at that. It's had so many repairs.
Yeah.
What a spot, folks. Epic. What a crazy abandoned scene, folks. Yeah, look at the weight of these, like, roof slates. It's just pushed the roof down. Yeah, this must have been a big farm. Right enough. Look, this is where they've put the feed so the cows could eat it.
Yeah,
So the cows must have been, yeah, the cows must have been running about in those sheds there. I'm being careful because look, all the electric boxes are hanging. Cables all over the top of my head. But yeah, we can get an essence of the farm from here. Maybe the livestock, which at one time they raised. It could still be the same farmer nowadays though, that's like, kind of just got a newer farm nearby.
Yeah.
But it is cool to see the abandoned farm histories. Yeah, that's what we're all about on this channel, folks. My family heritage comes from like the farming background. Probably places like this, this would have been a thriving farm back in the day, and a big farm. Yeah. But like farming's just moved on nowadays, everything's gotten bigger. Kind of wee farm like this wouldn't be enough. Wouldn't be big enough. That looks like an older, sorry, not such an old building over there.
Yeah.
It's been more like an office or something by the looks of things. Yeah, that's like some of those old tin buildings that you used to get in the war. We'll just take a walk around here, folks.
Look, you've used the telegraph pole. It's still got the writing on it.
And also, look how many railway sleepers has been used in that
Yeah.
shed. That's insane. Yeah, a lot of those old, that'll be some of the old construction, like the frame of the shed. Where were you seeing it? Oh, the old telegraph pole there, aye. Yeah. Telegraph poles was used for a lot of stuff back in the days. Look at the numbers on there, folks. That could be an oldie. Yeah, and there's just some parts of this shed, but look how fragile it is. It's definitely no safe to go in there. But check the old railway sleepers. They probably came from this very railway that ran past here. Again, this would have been a thriving farm just on the edge of the railway. Probably every day the farmer would have seen the steam trains rolling by here. Yeah, it's an epic adventure, folks. Yeah, the history in a place like this, it's often just remains of the buildings which is left. You can get a slight essence of the old farm history. The only machine we saw was that vintage tatty planter. Yeah, what a cool landscape. This is obviously still like good farm ground right here. Yeah. When we saw a place like this, it was definitely worth coming for a walk around, because it looks like it's definitely on its last legs. It's nothing more than a pile of scrap. A thriving farm turned to a pile of scrap, folks. But that's the British industry, how it moves on. The farming industry, agriculture. Yeah, I've said it all already in this video though, folks, Ken. It's crazy to think, like, that would have been a real big shed in its day. Now farm sheds is like 10 times that size. We'll just walk right around the perimeter of this building, folks, take in the history. Sometimes it's a once in a lifetime opportunity when you come to a place. Look at the old sandstone here. It's probably been bits of the building, or bits of a building. Yeah, it was probably fine from getting the cows out and in the fields. Again, since the field's like right here. Look at the size of that tree growing out of the wall. That shows you the length of time since this was a farm. And I can see bits of the old telegraph poles in there. Yeah. Wow, the old stone construction. Look, the stone slabs are still on this roof. That's what a lot of buildings had in Scotland back in the day. Even look at these pillars, they're insane structures in their own right. Massive chunks of stone. Yeah. Oh, there's been a gate there, look, there's another big pillar there. And that'll be into those feed things that we saw. Oh look, there's a ladybird down on the leaf. Anyway folks, let's move on with this adventure. Just shows you, we were on an adventure through railway history, and here we are. Abandoned farm history right in the middle of it. And that's what the adventure's all about. Sharing stuff like this with the world. Yeah, they've got the old loft door up there as well. Yeah, the old buildings are so cool. Yeah, you can just imagine the old Fords and Major coming around the corner here with that tatty planter on the back. Yeah. There was maybe the farmer's wife and that sitting on the back putting the tatties down the holes into the ground.
Ah, that would have been the days before farming.
Yeah. Yeah, the railway sleepers here. It's like there's been a fence there, or maybe this other shed was actually there, eh? Yeah, I see it now. So that's been like a double shed. Maybe just for storing bales and stuff. Some of those sheds just have a roof and then no sides. It's cool to see the way they built some of these old sheds with like the crude stone pillars and then the wooden beams just laid on top of them. And that shed there must have had the railway sleepers with the metal frame on them. And then that one's got the telegraph poles. So each shed here is just like a different construction. This one here's had a cement floor though. Yeah, this might have been like their main tractor shed or something like that. At one time it could have been a main shed. It's got a decent floor. Yeah, look at that. Is that part of what's been maybe an old bit of machinery or something? Farm machinery, folks. Look at that. It's hard to even know. Yeah, look, there's hardly anything below that stone. Yeah, this has definitely been something. Look at it, it goes way in there. I wonder if they've had like a grain dryer of some sort. Oh, aye. Yeah, there's definitely been something there. Look at the way that is, folks. And it's like they've been taking the stuff out here. Or they might have had a silo even. Insane, folks. So cool to see little bits. Again, there's only a few bits of farm history left like that in this location. I'm pretty sure I just noticed a tractor wheel sitting here. Look at this, folks. This must be one of the old tyres off the old tractor. It's a Dunlop Fieldmaster. Yeah, and I'm guessing these trees weren't grown here when these sheds were in their prime. I'm at the far side of these railway sleepers now. But I've just found something cool. It looks like part of an old like bar and mill or something. Look at this, folks. Look at that. It's part of an old farm machine. See that? It's like, it looks like a bit of a bar and mill or something. Most things were built out of wood back in those days. Crazy, crazy history, folks. And it's just hidden at the corner there. It's like the sort of thing you can so easily miss on an adventure. That's how I like to try and take in every detail when I'm exploring. And that's a cool little bit of farm history. Maybe at one time used as a thrashing mill, I think, for the grain. Look at this, folks. I've just noticed on the ground, like a dead hedgehog. Check that out, folks. Poor thing. That there is a hedgehog, folks. Native to Scotland, for all those foreign viewers that watch. And you do get hedgehogs around here, and it's a shame to see it dead. And maybe an animal's dragged it in here. But yeah, it's a shame to see it. Spiky little beasts. But they're cute, can often run across the road and get hit by cars, which is a shame. Anyway, let's head on round. There's one more shed here before we head back to the railway history. Oh, folks, it's an empty shed. Looks more of a later construction though. It's almost got like the sort of look of some of those old airfield sheds that we've been in.
It's either been constructed from old scrap that they could find, or it's been divvied up into separate rooms, because you've got a door there, you've got a door there,
Yeah.
and you've got a door here.
See, it looks more like one of those flat pack kind of sheds.
Yeah.
Or I think normally it would be built onto the ground at that height. But maybe they've been needing extra height because they've built it up off the ground.
It's had a lot of windows in it, which brings us back to your point, is it could have been an office building,
It looks to me more like a flat pack kind of construction rather than like a farm shed. But often they would just use what they had.
Yeah.
Especially a farm like this, I think. Look at the old lock. See something interesting to look, they've put glass over the letterbox.
Yeah.
Which shows you they weren't using this as an office. And they've been like putting tin over the windows. See, often they would have a wee shed as like a tractor shed or a workshop. And maybe the other sheds weren't secure enough and they got this. Yeah, it's interesting to see, it's all asbestos panelling. That's often the trouble with old buildings like this. Again, they're hard to dispose of stuff like that. It's hundreds of thousands of pounds sometimes if you have like a whole site. So then it just ends up going to ruin like this. Gets lost to nature and time. Yeah, the coolest bit of farm history we found was potentially that part for the thrashing mill. Yeah, interesting, folks. Anyway, we'll head on along this railway line and I'll update you soon, folks. There we go, folks. We're back on the old like railway history again. That's the old rail line running along the bottom of this hill. So we're going to follow this track along. And yeah, it's so interesting to see. Looks like somebody's been down here clay pigeon shooting. Must be one of the locals. So here we are, folks. We've walked along this railway. We're back again on the railway and you can see it's a lot higher than the fields at each side. And now we've come along as far as this incredible ancient standing stone. This is a unique piece of history that we're about to show you on the channel today, because, well, I've only been here once before, but it's an incredible Pictish standing stone, folks, and it's one of the only Pictish standing stones to depict a boat, a Pictish boat. And I've got a bit of information on my phone here, folks. It's unique in depicting a Pictish boat, the only known representation of a boat in early medieval sculpture in Scotland, folks. So that gives you an idea of the history. Early medieval sculpture in Scotland. And this is the only representation of a boat, which is an insane feat of history. And that's quite a crazy bit we have to climb over by the looks of things. But yeah, it's cool we can read that little bit of history about it as well as see the structure. And yeah, it's one of the few Pictish stones as well which still stands in its original location, on a prominent bit of ground overlooking the low-lying lands there. And yeah, this is quite a big stile that we're having to climb over right here. Crazy. Anyway, folks, let's go. Look, there's loads of clay pigeon fragments lying about here. So there must be somebody around here that likes a bit of clay pigeon shooting. Probably if you came here the wrong day of the week, try to look at the stone, you'd be getting hit with that. So here it is, folks, up ahead, and it like looks like a fence post from this direction because it's so thin. But once you actually get up close to it, it's obviously a wide stone. But the angle of approach from a distance, again, it looked like a real strange stone. And yeah, you can see at one time, I think in the Victorian period, they had repaired it with a steel strap. Yeah, here we go, folks. Incredible history once again here on the channel. And just look at that. And just think, this is one of the few stones which bears the boat, which is down here. Look at this, folks. Don't know how well it comes out in the video. Look at it there. That's the curve of the boat, the hull. Wow. Often on the camera you can see stuff like that easier than kind of when you're just looking at it with your eye. But often when the light's hitting it a certain way as well, it makes it easier to see. What a crazy scene. It says this is a Pictish cross slab of the 8th or 9th century AD. The main face shows a cross decorated by low relief interlace. The back bears two common Pictish symbols, above scenes of horsemen, a manned boat and animals. So on this sign it says it's common Pictish symbols. So that must have been the horsemen and the animals, because apparently the manned boat, this is one of the only ones in Scotland which shows that, or the only one. So there you go. Crazy history right here, folks. And yeah, it's been cool. It's always cool on that like railway adventure to ken there's a cool bit of history at the end of it. Yeah, this repair here doesn't actually look as old as a Victorian repair. There is a bit of wind out here, folks, on the top of this prominent piece of land, so I do apologise for that. But sometimes to bring the best history we just have to go out any weather, and to see something like this, it's just crazy. It's got the similar Celtic patterns like what we saw in the Aldbar graveyard, but like the sort of patterns we saw in the Aldbar graveyard were inspired from ancient carvings like this. So it's cool to see these older carvings, like the detail of that down there, it's been less weathered and you really get an essence of how it would have been. The whole stone at one time was covered with intricate details. Yeah, there's not a lot of it left. See, another thing, the way they've carved deep in there to the stone, leaving this thin edge, that must have had a lot of like good craftsmanship back then. And then look, there's even details in there carved into the stone. It's absolutely crazy when you think about like the age of this stone, the age of these carvings. And it's like a big chunk of sedimentary sandstone, and you can see that with the pebbles in it. A bit like what we've seen on other adventures when we've been like in the heart of that sandstone cave a few videos ago. Like we saw what that stuff looks like inside. But yeah folks, I'll get a couple of pictures and then we'll update you. So there we go folks, take one last look at that incredible detail, the way they've carved deep into the rock, and then even on the higher up bits it's still got the incredible detail. It's like there's almost been a part here which is now missing. It is insane to see. It's a crazy scene folks. And yeah, it's so cool to be able to share this with the world, because this stone just stands here out in this wild Scottish landscape overlooking this crazy bit of land. Okay, and you can see probably back in the day like how far it could have been seen from. And then as the years progressed, kind of different industries and different farms and stuff would have been popping up all around this thing. But it still managed to stand on its original location, which is a cool thing. Okay, and this stone's witnessed the railway being built and the industry building and growing and being successful, and then dying and then disappearing and becoming abandoned. The whole time this stone's still just been standing here, which is crazy folks. The length of time it's been there, it's just wild. And yeah, it's too far away for them to like cover it up in the winter, because I do know that the Aberlemno standing stones get covered up in the winter to like protect them, but then obviously this one's just out in the wilds. Yeah, it's cool folks, something a bit different. This has been a crazy variation in this one video with the railway history, the farm history, and now, boom, a Pictish stone with a carving of a rare boat. It's just insane folks.
Day and a half of walking.
There we go folks, that's been a crazy adventure. We were just theorising to like why this was built here and like what reason they built them, and kind of is crazy to think they've depicted a boat on this stone, and the nearest body of water or sea, the nearest coast to here is miles over that direction. Yeah, so it's almost like you could imagine maybe the locals had carved this and they were depicting what they had seen the Picts arriving in. But for a boat being on the thing, it's so cool, so rare. Here's a little plane away to fly over. This boy's been fleeing about all day. Anyway folks, that's been a cool adventure. We'll end this one here. Tune in again soon for the next adventure. Who knows what we're going to get into next, but goodbye for me, goodbye for the channel DJ, and we'll see you very soon for the next one.